The boy was just playing with his father with a toy gun. Unexpectedly, his father fired a real gun at him. This moment immediately alerted the sister to something being wrong. She rushed over and tackled her brother to the ground. She watched as her father continued to fire at the two of them. The older sister finally realized. Her father drove for over 3 hours to take them to the middle of nowhere. It turned out he wanted to find an opportunity to kill them. To survive, the older sister quickly led her younger brother to crawl backward, until the two had crawled to a spot 20 meters away. The sister dared to slowly peek out her head to look around, but by then, her father had already disappeared. The car had also been set on fire by their father using gasoline. In order to survive, the sister told her brother to stay put and not move. She then went to the car to search for supplies. At that moment, she knew she had to hurry back to the city. Otherwise, they would surely die of thirst or starve to death in this desolate desert. Soon, night fell. After walking all day, the brother and sister were already parched with thirst, but because they had been walking so hurriedly, they hadn't had time to bring any water. To conserve their strength, the brother and sister endured their thirst and fell asleep early. The next day, at dawn, the sister took her brother and set off on their journey. In order to get a clear understanding of the surrounding terrain, the older sister decided to climb to the top of a mountain, but she almost slipped and fell halfway up. Fortunately, the two walked very carefully and finally made it to the top. However, when they reached the summit, the scene before them instantly broke their hearts. All they could see were hills all around them. There was no sign of the city at all. What was even more terrifying was that the brother and sister had no water with them. They must find a water source as soon as possible. However, after walking for a long time, they still couldn't find any water. With no other option, the two had to rest where they were to conserve their energy. Fortunately, at that moment, the sister found a few drops of water in a broken tin can. She quickly handed the water to her brother. After a brief rest, the siblings set off again. At first, the boy was curious about everything around him. He kept following his sister as they traveled. However, in this scorching desert, he quickly became dehydrated. After passing a hill, the boy lost his balance and fell to the ground. Seeing her brother lying on the ground unwilling to move, the sister quickly picked up the supplies that had fallen to the ground and kept encouraging him to keep going. But the younger brother, who hadn't eaten for 3 days, had no strength left. With no other option, the sister had to carry her brother on her back and continue on their way. They walked for an unknown amount of time. The sister suddenly noticed a patch of green vegetation growing ahead. At first, the older sister thought she was hallucinating, until her younger brother also saw the vegetation ahead. They finally walked up to it. The sister and brother never imagined that this place not only had abundant water resources, but also trees laden with wild fruit. The starving younger brother, without a second thought, drank a few mouthfuls of water, and then picked up the wild fruit that had fallen into the water and began to eat it, until he saw that birds also like to eat these wild fruits. The sister finally realized that the fruits were not poisonous at all, so she felt at ease letting her younger brother eat them. However, precisely because of this, the starving siblings feasted on the fruit. Then they lay down on the ground and fell into a deep sleep. However, what they never expected was, when the sun rose the next day, the entire gully that had been filled with water the day before had dried up. What was even more terrifying was that the two of them had been too preoccupied with drinking water to store any of the water from the gully.